Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of Two Dads Talking. Wanted to front load this one. On this episode, one of us, I won't say who, gives some pretty specific viewpoints about a particular mortgage company named Freedom Mortgage, given their recent experience with them. In full disclosure, the opinions expressed about the folks at Freedom Mortgage are based solely 100% on the experiences of Tom and of the people he also spoke with who had also used Freedom Mortgage for their lending purposes. This is not the official opinion of the Two Dads Talking podcast, nor does it take into account their Google rating of 1.3 stars. If you are considering using Freedom Mortgage yourself to finance or refinance your home, please make sure that you consider them with the same level of open-mindedness and professional confidence that you might have in a group of malicious 11-year-olds coming off of terrible sugar highs as they file your taxes in a foreign language using Google Translator on a cracked computer monitor with recently installed Windows Vista. Presumably, they have mothers who love them too. Thanks. Enjoy the episode. What is it to be a green bean?
I wish I could remember what that conversation was about, and now I don't remember.
I mean, it feels like it's something to the effect of like, how do you describe red to a blind person? And my answer is you don't. Move on. Help them cross the street and get on with your life.
Welcome to Two Dads Talking, where
Yay!
I just shared a document with Doug about links I've basically kept on my phone as I've gone over the last several weeks of things that maybe we want to talk about on the show. And he's looking at it for the first time right now, so you get the real raw reaction to things, some that we've talked about, some that we haven't.
Well, and the funny part is I have another similar-ish list, and so there's lots of overlap.
There you go.
So yeah, we've already talked about a few of these. Is the Unkillable Soldier one the what do you call them, that were they Kafka? Was that the guy's name?
Oh,
The
Casca.
The Kafka
No,
novels?
no, the
Or this is
Unkillable
different?
Soldier is something different. Yeah, this is a
Oh.
historical character.
Ooh. So like Casca.
It's a real life historical character. He was he a Frenchman? Hold on, I'll find him. The British Army. Adrian Carton de Wiart.
Oh, so is he like literally one of those dudes that just kept escaping death somehow?
Literally one of those guys. Yes, he was in the
Man,
Boer War, the First World War, Second World War. He was
holy
shot in the
shit.
face, head, stomach, ankle, leg, hip, and ear. Blinded in his left eye. Survived two plane crashes. Tunneled out of a prisoner war camp. Tore off his own fingers when a doctor refused to amputate them. Um, and then when he was asked about the First World War, his quote was, "Frankly, I had enjoyed the war."
I was about to say that confirms it for me. He's basically just a sociopath.
I mean, it kind of seems like he's the Terminator, honestly. That's really what he feels like.
That's good. Yeah, we'll have to talk about him.
Yeah, we could talk about him. He's got some interesting stuff.
Maybe he can tell us if Australia is real or not. Sounds like he might have been there if it is real. So tonight, we figured would be a sort of like more of an updates episode. It's been, as usual, we've been very busy because we do that from time to time. But Thomas here has been especially busy between moving and hurting his knees, and we'll get into some of the other fun stuff later, what they should have done in their old house. And
Oh, baby. Yep.
oh baby. And then I somehow went down the rabbit hole of finding some updates on two other topics that we spent significant time on. So we're gonna kind of focus on that tonight because we have not heard yet from Beardy and the unbearded pedestrians.
Even though someone in Australia is apparently listening to us now, I've got to
Yeah,
think it's them because we didn't have any Australian hits before that. So I think it's got to
we
be
had two
them.
downloads from Australia right after that published, and so we were like, oh, they're coming, and then we didn't hear anything. So I'm still
Yeah.
sad. But we because of everything else that's happening, we will get to it. We will talk about why either Australia is actually real or these were just they were paid. Where were they from, Tom? Venezuelan actors? Is that what you said?
Yes, Venezuelan
Yes. Okay.
actors. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Because
Pretending to
that's
be Australians.
because that's totally the same. All right. Yeah. Is there anything else other than the big updates, Tom, that you want to tell us?
No,
Is there something you want to tell us, Tom?
we've got the suicide pod update. We've got the Imane Khelif update. We've got
Hmm.
the update with my move. I think maybe just some context and maybe an apology. So we haven't.
Yeah.
I've got things that need to be uploaded that are recorded that I started working on today before I got slammed with other work again. The move for the house took a horrific turn, and the title company didn't do what it was supposed to do, and then the lending company screwed things up, and we wound up not closing in time, and that got pushed back, and it was a very stressful additional week trying to, make sure I had a roof over the kid's head. And my wife and I worked real hard to make sure we could figure things out on the fly. We spent time literally with a senator yelling at this mortgage company who claims to be an advocate for veteran homeowners, but couldn't seem to handle a very basic loan assumption. Um, yeah, we had fun. Don't use Freedom Mortgage. I'm going to put this right out there. I'm not too worried about it. Don't use Freedom Mortgage. They're an absolute trash company who can't find their asshole with both hands, and they will screw up your paperwork and they will screw up your process, and they will leave you without a home without notifying you that you don't have a home. They won't call you to tell you that they screwed something up and you're going to miss your closing date. They're going to basically hope that you call them proactively and find out 2 days before you're supposed to close. They will apologize and tell you that they can't do anything. And then when you raise enough crap, they will tell you that they will waive the VA funding fee, for which, your response might be, if you're in my shoes, I am already a service connected disabled veteran who is exempt from that fee. And then they might inform you, oh no, that's our fee. That's in addition to the VA funding fee. We just call it that because it's kind of what it is, but it's actually our fee. So they actually have an additional fee that they call their VA funding fee, which you shouldn't do because that's actually a thing. Yeah, don't use Freedom Mortgage. They're really, really a terrible company to go through from a customer side. They made it very clear that they didn't care about the customer, and they made it very clear that they didn't care about the hardships that they incurred, and they made it very clear that no matter what went wrong, it was always someone else's fault at every step in the process.
So I'm curious, how much was their fee?
It was a $300 additional funding fee,
Oh, okay.
and that's what they were willing to waive to make up for the extra $4,000 they cost me by screwing up all of our appointments and extending us in Airbnbs an extra week.
I
And
was really hoping it was going to be like $72.
no, it's
At
it's
least
$300.
it's three digits.
No. And they didn't even let us know when we missed our closing date. They literally never called or emailed anyone in the process, the seller or the buyer. We
Yeah.
only found out because I reached out to them 2 or 3 days before the closing date and said, "Hey, just want to make sure we're still on track." And the response was like this laughing, "Oh no, you're not on schedule for that. That's not going to happen this week." Never let us know. They weren't going to notify us, apparently. Yeah, I've talked to two people since then, one being my brother and one being someone in the poker room this weekend. And both people, when I said Freedom Mortgage, went, "Oh, they screwed up my refinance." Oh, that
Hmm.
makes sense. Yeah, go figure.
No, well,
Now they've screwed up my account where I'm trying to log on to pay my first mortgage payment, and my last name doesn't match my loan number, which doesn't match the last four of my social. They screwed up my name on my loan account. Like I can't even pay my mortgage right now because they screwed things up and sent me a loan number that doesn't match my name, that doesn't match. It's unbelievable. The story just continues, and I'm so. Do not use Freedom Mortgage if you have someone else that you can use. I'm going to go right out there and say that this has been an awful process. But that's why part of the reason we've been so busy. Part of the reason that I haven't had internet in a while. My computer just got set up today. It's been weeks. And I just got the computer set up with the internet and fiber today. We've had some issues with the fiber getting set up at the house. Um, yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. Very busy at work. Very, very busy at work. Very busy moving into a new house, obviously, and trying to get over the trauma of leaving a demonically possessed house, I think. So that's fun.
don't tease him with that. We'll get to that later.
This is going to be not the update show, but the show where everyone decides Tom is a quack. Anyone who was on the fence has gone officially overboard and decided I was a quack. That's what this is going to be.
based on your teaser, because I hadn't heard any updates since we last talked about it. We last talked about this off recording, and I was
Yep.
just like hearing some of the stuff, and I was just spitballing, and it sounds like I was a little bit closer to the target than I even thought then. Okay, good. This will be fun.
Yeah, there's
Uh,
one big linchpin for information that I think is gonna resonate with you in particular. We'll
yes.
get
So
there.
happy. So happy. Okay,
But
but
yeah, so
first
the update episode.
let's get to the boring stuff on the update episode. So, which one do you want to do? Do you want to do Suicide Pod or do you want to do Imane Khelif?
Start with the suicide pod because
Okay.
that one was, as I'm reading it, kind of hard for me to digest that it was real. Like that was
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay. So, um, in our when I was sending these to Tom, I only sent him two articles, and then I found a third one that was just like even better. So I have to send this too. So we're going to include all three of these in the show notes. And if you guys were interested in this article or in this topic before, you definitely want to just sit down, take like 10 minutes and read these three articles. Um, good grief, when was this? This was episode 20 something. This was a while ago, wasn't it?
That sounds
Oh,
right.
here it is. Episode 19.
Okay. Yep.
So I have the sheet pulled up, thank goodness. So in episode 19, we talked about these things called suicide pods that were being made and then presumably some version of testing along the way by a company called Sarco. Inventor is this Philip Nitch or whatever his last name is, whatever. Um, the articles that we were using at the time for for that episode were like 3 years old. It was when they were first still in like prototype phasing and still working on regulations and legal and blah blah blah. So not that long ago, they finally got to the first actual use. And there was first one was a woman, I think it was an American woman.
I don't know if she was American.
Here it is. Here's the headline, just to get you guys started. Woman using suicide pod reportedly found with strangulation marks inside. And we'll let you read the whole article, but between this and a couple of the other articles out there, it seems like the head of the like local subsidiary group of this overarching Sarco company was there in the room with this first woman who wanted to use the suicide pod. And there were a couple other people like in the other room waiting or whatever, like news outlets and stuff like that. This woman uses the pod, and in a different article, this woman who's not using it looks at the inventor, Dr. Philip Nietzsche, who's on a Zoom call for this, and says, "She's still alive, Philip." That's the rumor. But authorities find this woman is passed away and they claim that she has strangulation marks around her neck. So the theory goes that they made sure that the pod worked, even though it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did like they arrested four people. I think they released three initially on bond, and it's just sort of last I checked, just kind of outstanding. The best little plot twist was in one of the other articles, there is an American woman who was previously meant to be the first one to use the suicide pod. And she backed out and she's accusing the company of trying to get her life savings. Here's the clip from this one. The 55-year-old, identified under the alias Jessica Campbell, leveled the accusations against the group behind the capsule. I love this group's name. That's really why I wanted to read this. Exit International's Swiss affiliate, The Last Resort. In a letter written at some point before her assisted suicide with another company in July.
Wow.
So that's effectively your update. They're great reads. I just absolutely love this whole I want to kill myself, but I don't know, cleanly, economically, with at the push of a button. And so I go to the leading developers of said clean technology, but then I get the ick from them and feel like they're trying to go after my money. I'm not going to let them kill me. I'm going to go to another assisted suicide company and take care of that. But I'm going to make sure I write a nasty worded letter first.
Yep.
Like,
Did it say in there?
what?
Did it say in there in that article that oh gosh, what was his name? Because I just saw it here. Philip, was it Nitschke?
Nitschke, yeah, Nitschke
Yes,
or whatever.
Nitschke. Yep.
Yeah.
Did it say in that article that he watched the live stream of the first death in his pod? Because I saw that in a different article and I went, that seems
Uh,
dark.
you gotta see if your invention works.
I mean, I guess
Come
in a
on.
practical way you do. That's true.
I mean,
But his
come on.
lawyer released a statement apparently saying that he watched the first one take place via a live stream in Germany. And I just, man,
I mean, I think that was it too, because that was where they got the quote. I can't find it. I think it's in one of the, it might be in the other article that we'll link here. I don't know. To me, that's not weird though,
okay.
because
It's quality assurance, quality control.
right. Well, hey, you are designing, prototyping a machine that does a particular job. You have to make sure it works. And I mean, you're gonna miss the first launch. Like, you don't miss the screening to your own movie. You crazy?
Yes, you're not wrong. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeesh.
you spent years doing this. Like, you probably should have like at least grappled a little bit with the idea of like people are offing themselves in your machine. Like, you should be good going into this. Plus, it's supposed to look like Sleep, remember? So it's not really supposed to be like grisly or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. You're not wrong. All right. So I'm still on the grounds of I'm still in the position of suicide pod bad.
Well, okay, I am too, but honestly, this is the dark twisted side of me finds this absolutely hilarious because I thought it was bad because, culture and who gets to make this decision for themselves, who gets to make this kind of decision for other people. What did I say back then? I said something like it glorifies and or trivializes this kind of thing. Like it makes it trendy and acceptable and okay kind of thing. It normalizes it, if you will. I absolutely love that the people are trying to help you kill yourself are trying to go after your money first, though. That's
Of
fantastic.
course they are. Yep. Of
Like I
course
was
they
good.
are.
Well, you know what? These people can't be the most redeeming people if they're like, yeah, sure, let's help you off yourself. That'll
But
be
in a
20
good,
bucks.
wholesome, ethical way.
Yeah. No, you're gonna pay me to help you off yourself. I don't know. There's so many other cheaper, more surefire ways to do this, honestly. I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, you might be, but that's all right. At least you're not strangling people and make sure they die in your death pod.
I just sit there and I read this and I think I'm going to start a company that helps you that assists your suicide. I will have much lower overhead costs and I will have a personal 2-year guarantee that I won't go after your estate. Like, that puts me ahead of like the main competition already, right?
Yeah, just make sure you put it in your mission statement and you're good.
Anyway, good times. All right,
Good
you
times.
do the next one. Otherwise, I'm going to say more terrible things.
I don't have that link in front of me, so if you want to go
Oh
ahead and
yeah, yeah,
fire off
yeah.
on it, I'll just give commentary. You can lead the Imane Khelif one too.
Oh, here it is too, so you can have it. So
Thanks.
there's a lot of articles on this one, which I picked this one mostly because I think it gives a fair shake to sort of a view on both sides. It seems to be a little bit more on the side of this is dirty, but it at least admits some things that are medically sound for it. So this article is from Redux X two X's dot info. Algerian boxer Imane Khelif has XY chromosomes and I love this testicles. Testicles is in scare quotes.
Yeah, I kept wondering why it's in scare quotes. Like, is it just because they're internal or
Well, yeah, because usually testes are outies, but
okay?
in this case they're innies.
Yep. All right.
It says French Algerian medical report admits. So this article is from right now, just 2 days ago, November 4th. And in June of 2023, as in a year before the Olympics. And this is not the, what was it, IBA, International Boxing Association, or whatever that's been known for some of their other stuff. This was a examination that Imane Khelif did. And let me see if I can find it. This report, drafted by expert endocrinologists Sumaya Fadala and Jacques Young, reveals that Khelif is impacted by 5 alpha reductase deficiency, which is a disorder of sexual development that is only found in biological males. And the article does, this is where I said this article is actually giving it a fair look here. Um, what it does is it basically stunts the growth of the sexual organs to the point of being potentially internal and not external to the body like normal. This is where Tom will tell this. This is where the micropenis actually comes from.
And as we were saying before I hit record, I laughed when I read this article. Doug liked it because it gave a fair shake, and I appreciated the angle it took where it said, this Imane probably believed he was a female for his whole life. And this article did a good job explaining why. And it talks about the micropenis and how people who suffer from this 5 alpha reductase issue often have a micropenis that presents itself as sort of an enlarged clit. And when I read this, all I could think was, the micropenis is a real thing? And I honestly, all my life, grew up thinking that micropenis was just some awful joke made up by like middle school kids to make fun of kids who had a small penis. I never knew one at all in my life.
And South Park used it on Osama bin Laden.
Yes, exactly, right? I thought it was just some nasty thing kids said. I did not know this was a real thing. Um, yeah, the micropenis is a real thing.
And it's interesting. It says that it's the male babies with this are often incorrectly assigned female. Like it straight up says it. So I mean, this is something that fools your typical medical professional too. And it also said, where I can find it. Yeah, without access to a proper clinical examination, males with 5 alpha may incorrectly believe they are female into adulthood. So, I mean, this disorder is a real, like, you might actually think you're a woman kind of thing, at
Yeah,
least from, your physical stuff. Because it does say it does a few other, oh yeah, here it is. This disorder typically becomes apparent by puberty because all the other masculine things that are supposed to happen to you, like hair and muscles and stuff like that, happen. And so you're like, well, wait, this shouldn't happen to me if I'm actually a girl.
right.
But in rare cases, they can still you can still believe you're a female. But this happened a year before the Olympics, and both Imane and the coach were aware of this examination, it sounds like. So yes, this is actual fraud.
Yeah, it sounds like when the IBA issue came up in 2023 that received some attention that the International Olympic Committee kind of, criticized them for banning Khelif from that tournament. It sounds like at that event, this test was performed. And his coach also says, I remember, Imane spending time with a doctor and there's a prolonged period where something happened that we weren't told about. It sounds like they went through the test when that happened, and the test determined, yep, this is what you have. You have XY chromosomes. You have testosterone levels that are normative for a male of your age. This is what's going on. And there was a note in here where the doctor recommended surgical correction and hormone therapy along with I'm sorry, because he felt that Imane needed to physically align himself with his self-perceived gender identity, and that the results of this caused a significant neuropsychiatric impact on him. So essentially, a doctor in 2023 said, listen, biologically, you're a male. I know you think you've been a female your whole life. This is why. This thing that you have causes your testes to be internalized. It causes your micropenis to present as an enlarged clitoris. But I'm telling you, based on your karyotype, I'm telling you, based on your testosterone levels, you are a biological male and you should have surgery to correct this and align it with how you identify. And he and his coach were made aware of it and said, no, I'm good. I'm a woman. You're full of shit. I'm going to keep boxing in women's boxing. And they went forward with that. And so I'm now very much on the side of this person should be stripped of his medal. This person, even though he believed he was a female up until 2023, I do believe that he needs to be stripped of the medal. The Olympics committee needs some sort of an audit, some sort of a review. Something needs to change with how they screen moving forward. And essentially what they did, because they were aware of this too, apparently, that was the other bombshell in this, was that the International Olympics Committee was aware of these results. That being the case, essentially what we had in the Olympics was the Olympic Committee saying it's okay for us to make money off of a man beating up on women on international live television. We're going to televise that. We're going to promote it, and we're going to reward it and incentivize it and make money off it. And then we're just going to pretend like we don't know and pretend like the rest of the world is the a-hole. And we're going to stay on the high horse until it bucks us off. And in my opinion, that high horse has bucked the IOC. And I think some things need to change. And I would honestly love to see the women boxers that fought in the Olympics that made comments about something's not right here. I would like to see them kind of vindicated in this because they caught a lot of hate. A couple of them recanted their statements super quickly because they were vilified for saying things like, I've never been hit that hard in my life. That didn't feel like a woman hitting me. They were straight up vilified for that. And honestly, they were victims. Victims in a male on female assault. And I don't, a lot of strange things are happening in the world today. We've got a convicted felon for our president. We got all kinds of weird stuff happening today.
Don't you
But
dare. I hate him,
no,
but
no,
that was the biggest that
I'm
was the
just saying that
biggest.
that's a real thing, and the fact that that's true is something I never thought I would see, and that I don't feel should happen. I don't care about the election
Yeah.
one way or another. We've talked about this. Either way, I think we
Yeah,
should.
no, we
But
decided not to get too far into this because I mean,
yeah,
honestly, I'm not
but you
I
can't say it's not a novel thing and a strange thing to say out loud.
no,
A
you're
convicted
right.
felon is the
You're right, it
president.
is. But
That's
the problem was the supposed injured party was like, "What? No, we're not injured. No, nothing wrong happened." Like they're on record as saying it, but whatever, didn't care. But no, I'm firmly in the camp of what this one guy I follow tweeted. He said, "On the plus side, Donald Trump will never show up on a ballot again."
that is true.
I
Well,
was
we
like, "Well,
think
this is yeah." Like that is actually kind of nice
I'm
because it's
sure in
just the
Russia at some
circus.
point, they said the same thing about Putin, and here we are.
Well, yeah, yeah, I don't know.
But
Like I said, I hope I'm right that Trump doesn't screw everything up but I mean, I'm not sitting here thinking like, yay, like it's
yeah,
just like,
no.
well, here we are.
But it's a weird world. I only say that to dip my toes in the waters and say weird things are happening, and I'm
Yes,
I'm really struggling with the idea that the Olympics knowingly allowed a man to beat on women for a period of a week and a half, promoted it, gave him a
yeah,
gold medal, defended him when people said this isn't right and we have proof, and literally vilified all the accusers, and they knew all along. That's what I have an issue
that's
with.
pretty bad. Well, but they knew it. They knew this controversy would come up. They knew somebody somewhere would say something and it would latch on. They knew it would get them more attention, and yeah, they did it on purpose. I mean, that's the thing that I'm struggling with here was uh what's the quote? It says never attribute to maliciousness that can be also caused by negligence or something like that. It's some quote like that where it basically says like, hey, if stupid shit's happening, it's probably negligence or stupidity first and not actual like evil or maliciousness.
You're talking Hanlon's razor.
Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember the exact quote,
Never
but
attribute to malice that which is
yes.
adequately explained by
Yes.
stupidity, I think.
Yes, thank you. It's
I
that
think
basically.
stupidity is what it
Right.
is.
Well, that was my feeling with the Olympic stuff. Like, oh, you just have to say what your gender is on your passport, and that determines, what
Right.
category you're boxing in or competing in or whatever. And so to me, that's stupid
Yep.
because yeah, we're not here to like to insult people and claim that they're quote something that they're not, like if they really truly think that. But at the same time, like we also have to stick to some version of truth here. And like if you're a man who firmly believes that you're a woman, you can firmly believe you're a woman, but we're not going to let you hit other women.
Right.
Like the rest of us have, rights too, if you will. These women have rights too. So
Yep.
I'm sitting here thinking the Olympics are just trying to play the firmly neutral, firmly like politically correct, like, hey, you know what? It's we just asked them what they are, and that's it. But this shows that this was actual malice,
Yeah.
not stupidity.
Yep.
And that is on the one thing that is truly worldwide, like that's a legitimate problem.
Yep. I agree. And this is at an event that's intentional intent. Its original intention is to bring different nations together under a banner of peace. And that's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. And this flies in the face of the spirit of the Olympics. Now that I've read this and I've seen this,
And
It
that's
really
what
is.
annoys me is that this proves that this crap, this PR crap is truly like in the Olympics now for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, all the jokes aside about different like social media companies and all that, you can't just go like invent your own Olympics.
Right.
It's borderline insurmountable to say, hey, we don't like the way these Olympics are running things, so we're just going to form our own Olympics on the side. You can't do that. So what do you do? How do you kick out the Olympics in power? I mean, you have to have actual Olympians who make this full-time jobs basically say, no, I'm not going to compete. Like, how do you if this is a problem, how do you fix it?
I think you have to bring in an external review body to recommend policies and procedures, and you have to have a different way of doing screenings. I
Yeah,
think,
hired by who?
and I don't know. That's the question. Yeah, I don't know.
Which country gets to hire that? Or countries or committee or whatever. I think the only thing that really fixes this is a bunch of people the next Olympics go, yeah, nope, not going to watch it, not going to support it, and it hurts them enough and or athletes boycott enough that the product actually suffers.
Yeah,
And
and that's a
because I mean,
shame because you never want
it is a
the
shame
Olympics
though.
to
That's the
suffer. It's one of those
well,
very very
right.
rare pure events where it's supposed to be. Like that's as close
Yeah.
to a pure event as you're supposed to get in the sports world.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sad.
it is sad.
Oh no. Anyway.
Anyway, but on that happy note, which I haven't said in a long time.
No, you haven't because your internet has been non-existent, much less happy.
Oh, freaking internet.
Sad. Oh, you know what, too? Again, all these articles, because they were the one who was actually subjected to this. Imane Khelif, once again, making the rounds. Who's surprisingly flying under the radar through all this new development? Lin Yutang.
Again, yep.
Again.
Isn't that wild how her name just never comes up with any of this and we just don't know? I mean, it's amazing. I said that
Yeah,
on the first time we recorded this. My biggest takeaway is like, why isn't Lin Yutang's name coming up too? Like, why only one of these being dragged through the mud? And
because the medical exam, we can only have the one. Let's see. Yeah, all the stuff with Lin Yutang in here is from August, so Lin Yutang's probably skating by on this one, at least for now, just because there's no actual test to say, hey,
yeah,
at least no confirmation yet.
no, good times, fun updates. What I should do is scroll through episodes and just be like, is there anything else here I've got an update on that we haven't talked about?
We should do that. Yeah. This fits my personality where I'm just super fun all the time. I was talking to my wife earlier today, and I can't remember what I was talking about, but I was basically being like this, like just super not fun. And out of nowhere, I think I timed it perfectly right. I said, by the way, honey, like, do you think that I have like an above average stick up my ass? Like, I probably have like a pretty solid, firm stick up my ass, right? And she's just like, what? Like, it's not the biggest, but like, average plus. Like, it's pretty good.
It's a girthy
It's,
stick.
it's a girthy stick. That's what you pay for. It explains my posture.
Yeah, I guess that would do it.
All right, let's talk about
Ooh,
your
I've got a fun update.
house. Oh, yeah?
Remember my bottle of rye got stolen during an open house? Like I talked about it on one of our last episodes.
Yeah. Did you find it?
I went out and found the right bottle. Basil Hayden small batch dark rye. Got
Okay,
exactly the
nice.
one I wanted.
Is
It is
that the one that
open.
got stolen, though?
No, I had finished that. I had finished that one, and then the one that got stolen was my backup bottle of something else. But this is the one that is
Oh,
my
okay.
favorite. This
Okay.
is currently my favorite rye. Is this one, the Basil Hayden dark rye small batch? It's so good. It's what I've been sipping on so far this evening. It's why I'm going to fall asleep here mid sentence at any point now. It's going to be great.
That'll be good. Hopefully you snore loud enough that I can add a few seconds of that on the end.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's in the middle of like a knock knock joke. Just knock knock and then sleep. That'd be great.
How do I respond to this? I don't know.
I don't know.
Who?
All right, so let's talk about Tom being crazy. How about that?
Yes. Yes,
All
I
right.
love it. Okay, muting.
So Doug's muting. Great. He's shushing himself, so I have to talk. That's a dirty self shush. All right. So as we've talked about a little bit here, recently I have sold a home and bought a home, and we've upgraded significantly with the new home. It's twice the size. It was built literally 57 years more recently. It's everything's modern, everything's new. It's got horse pastures, it's got lots of property with it. It's a very nice house. I'm very happy to be here. The other house, as we were packing up to leave, we had some things happen where I first started joking around. Hey, I think I think my house is haunted and doesn't want me to go. And I joked about it a little bit. And things got weird enough at one point in our house, about a month-ish before we moved out, that I actually said something to my wife. And then things got really weird later that night. And we both witnessed a thing and we both said, you know what? Let's not talk about this anymore. Just just in case this is us driving this thing and we're in our heads, or if there's really something crazy going on here, let's not provoke it. So we literally decided not to talk about it at all for the rest of the time that we were in that house. We are now out of the house. Um,
Tell the things.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I promise.
Okay.
We are in the
Yay.
new house. We finally feel safe talking about this. So we finally sat down and said, "Hey, let's talk about those last couple of weeks that we didn't share, and let's finally share and put things on the table." So we're going to start with the shared experience. There was a night, and Doug, you can correct my timing on this, but I want to say probably 5 weeks ago ish, 5, 6 weeks.
Oh, it was
Um,
obviously 4.62 weeks ago, Tom, clearly.
okay, 4.62 weeks ago.
Jesus.
Um,
Get it
we
right.
we had a really, really, really bizarre night. Um, where our dog sleeps in our bedroom, and his bed is on the side, on my side of the bed, and he sleeps near me. And in that house, there was a window on that side as well. And we usually kept the screen shut, but the window open to get some air through the house. We had woods abutting our house, like 11 acres of woods behind our house. And, it's not abnormal for there to be wildlife and animals out there. So we had a night where my dog all of a sudden just stood up, front paws in the window, back paws down, standing up, and just started growling and barking and snapping out the window in a way that neither of us have ever heard him do. He's a 2 year old Labradoodle. He doesn't bark much, he doesn't get that excited. And these were not happy, excited barks. This was there's something out the window. My first thought was that there was a bear or a coyote out there. Not a big deal. We've got woods. We're in the house. I'm not worried about it. But he starts trying to actually jump out the window. Like he's trying to climb up and get through the window at something. At which point I decided it was probably something that needed to be gone from my yard. And I decided to go out like a stupid white guy in a horror movie. I decided to go outside and see what was going on. So literally, I grabbed my pair of pants. I'd taken my pants off when I went to bed and just, hadn't put anything else on. They were just like lying in a heap. I just grabbed my pants, pull my jeans up, button them, go walking outside. Got a flashlight. I'm armed. Not a big deal. I'm ready for whatever. I'm gonna scare something out of my yard. I'm gonna deal with it. No big deal. There's nothing in my backyard. And as soon as I get in the backyard, I can hear my dog in the window the whole time while I'm going around my house. As soon as I get to the backyard, dog stops. Remy's chill. He's quiet. So I find that, okay, well, I scared something away. Something saw my flashlight come around the corner, coyote, whatever it was, and it ran away. No big deal. We're going to go back to the house. I go walking back around, and as I'm walking around, I realize, I don't think I locked my car tonight. I feel my key fob in my pocket and realize I don't think I locked my car tonight. That's not like me. I should lock my car. So while I'm walking by, I push the button on the key fob to lock my car. Nothing happens. There's no cheep cheep, nothing, which I find weird.
And it's a
The
Subaru Ascent, so it works 19 out of 20 times.
It's true,
I
19
I
out of
know.
20.
I can
Yeah.
tell you.
Yep.
Yes. No.
So I do it again and I look at my key fob and I'm looking for a little light indicator to show me that it's trying to do something. And there's no light indicator on the key fob. And I go, great. So the battery in my key fob died. Like I am not going to be able to get into my car in the morning and go to work. This is great. So I walk up and I pull on the car door handle and sure enough, it pops open. I did forget to lock my car. Well, that's great. I climb into the car just to make sure that it's the key fob that's dead and not the car battery. I climb into the car, put on the brake, push the button. Car doesn't start. It doesn't give the click, 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 click you get when the battery's starting to die. Nothing turns on. And it dawns on me that, well, maybe that's, if the key fob is completely dead and it's not detecting it, maybe that's what would happen. So I go to turn on one of the little lights inside the car and the light doesn't turn on. I push it on and nothing comes on. I'm like, oh, great. It's my car battery that's dead. Well, this is fun. Okay. So I get out, I close the car door. Now I'm really realizing I'm not going to be able to make it into work in the morning. It's about 11:40, 11:45 at night. I'm like, okay, so I'm not making it to work in the morning. Screw it, whatever. I'm going to go get some sleep. Close the door, and all of a sudden I hear Remy losing his mind, barking and furiously, barking and snarling again. So I go back around the backyard of the house, thinking that when I left, whatever I scared away crept back. I get to the back of the house, nothing there. Remy's not losing his mind. He's not pitching a fit. And there's just nothing in the woods. So I shine the light in the woods. I'm looking for any kind of reflective eyes. I see nothing. I don't see any prints, whatever. I'm done. I scared it away. I'm sure we're good. I go walking back around the house again. And as I walk past my Subaru, the light inside is on. The one that I had pushed on to check it that wasn't on, now it's on. And I found that to be odd. So I go sit in the car, and sure enough, I hit the button and beep, beep, and that works just fine. And I go to get in my car and start the car, and the car starts just fine. And this felt really odd to me because it clearly didn't work before. The clock on the car has reset itself to midnight, so I know the battery was not on at some point. Everything reset itself. This strikes me as quite odd. This continues a little bit with Remy, where he loses his mind. My car doesn't work. There's nothing there. I come back, my car works. And I'm just curious at this point. Like this is an interesting thing to me. Get back into the house. Decide to call that a night. Whatever. I'm exhausted. I'm gassed. This will all make sense to me in the morning. The next night, Bridget and I are sitting in bed, and I should have written this down in more detail because it's been a little while now, and I wish I had all the details sharply. But Bridget and I are sitting in bed, and my two daughters sleep in a room together, and it's at the end of a long hall. And I hear them talking. They often talk late into the night. My oldest likes to stay up and read or draw or color, and she'll talk to my youngest, and my youngest will ask her to read her a story or sing her a song. And it's very typical that we will put them to bed at a certain time, and an hour and a half later, they're still in their room talking and chit-chatting and doing whatever, socializing. So it's one of those nights where they're socializing and chit-chatting. And we go to bed, my wife and I wake up, and my youngest is crying and screaming. Now, she's been having nightmares for a while. Like it's been we're in that phase where she has night terrors. It's not a big deal. We go in, we see her, she goes back to sleep once you comfort her and you pat her on the back, and then you leave and she sleeps, and it's no big deal. So I go in there thinking she's got night terrors, and I go in and soothe her, and she goes back to sleep, no big deal. I go walking back down the hallway to my bedroom, and when I do, I hear them talking again. I go back to the room, and my oldest is passed out asleep, just like I thought she was. And my youngest is still asleep. But I know I heard them talking. There's not a doubt in my mind. I heard them talking. And I find this odd. And I go walking back to my bedroom. And my wife sits up, everything okay? I was like, yeah, just nightmares again. And then I heard the girls talking, but I guess they fell asleep before I got to their room. And as I'm having this conversation with my wife, we hear them talking again. And it doesn't sound like they're starting a conversation. It sounds like they're in the middle of a conversation. Like it sounds like they are well entrenched at whatever they're talking about. And we both hear it. My wife sits up in bed, and we're both listening. I'm like, yeah, I just checked on them. They were asleep. Like they must be playing a game with me. They must be messing with me. So this time I get up and I try to quietly creep down the hallway. And it's creaky. It's an old house, so you can only go so quietly. But I hear them talking like almost right up until I get to the door. It's very, very close to like when I reach out for the door. I can hear them talking this whole time.
Interjection. Are you
Yes.
hearing this from their room?
From their room.
And
Yes,
are you hearing specific words, or are you just hearing mumbling?
no, it was a conversation. I don't remember any words, so I couldn't
Okay.
tell you. I wish I was back
I
in a
was
minute.
curious.
Yeah, but there was very clearly words. It wasn't like sleep talking, and it wasn't just one
Right.
of them, and it wasn't singing. Like there were words being exchanged.
Clearly words, you're just not
Right.
hearing them.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So I go and I open the door, and when I open the door, it's silent, and the girls are asleep, like hard asleep. One of them snoring in bed. My oldest is like now snoring, which is odd to me. She wasn't snoring a minute ago, but I heard words. I know I did. So I find this to be very odd. And as I'm standing there trying to go, girl, stop messing with dad. What are you doing? I hear voices again, but this time it's coming from the other part of the house. It's coming from like my living room, which is down the hallway toward my bedroom, and then you hook a left. It's coming from that direction. I thought it was from the bedroom at first. So I I very quietly close the door and go walking back out. And now I'm hearing voices in my house. And it's very clearly two girls' voices. And it I thought was my daughters having a conversation. So I go walking out into my house and there's no one there. And there's as soon as I get down like near my bedroom, there's no voices. There's no nothing. Um, I hook a left, I walk the house, I check everything. I hear no voices again. I get back to my bedroom. My wife says, well, what were they talking about? What's going on? I said, nothing. They were asleep. And I swear the voices are coming from somewhere else. At this point, I'm thinking I'm in like a dream state. Like I'm just so tired. I'm imagining this. But my wife's hearing it too. And she's commenting, like, well, that's weird. They were definitely talking. The first thing I thought was that my brother was pulling the world's most elaborate prank on me. Because something I've wanted to do for years is to plant walkie-talkies in his walls or in his attic above his bedroom and to mess with him just like this. It's something I've wanted to do for my whole life and I've never done. And that's my first thought is, well played. Like you got me. You really did. I'm being pranked here. Yeah, good job. You got me. But as I'm talking to my wife, we hear it again. We hear the voices again. And I go walking back down to my girl's room and the voices stop and they're passed out. And we're both hearing this and they're not there. And as I'm in their room, I'm just wondering what the hell is going on. And I sat there and I stood and I waited for a good long while. Heard nothing. Went back to my room. My wife had fallen asleep. Um, and I'm glad she fell asleep because it was kind of weird. And she doesn't do horror and intrigue the way I do, I'll put it. She doesn't like anything scary. I am fascinated by, paranormal, by horror, I'm just fascinated by it. I'm that guy who all his life is like, I wish I had a really cool ghost encounter. That was always me. Um, maybe not so much anymore. But uh my wife's asleep and I'm like, okay, I'm imagining things like this is weird. And then I hear the voices again and I'm like, all right, I'm wide awake now, wide awake. And I start walking the house. And when I go toward my girl's room, the voices sound like they're coming from my living room. And I go to the living room and it sounds like they're coming from my bedroom. And I go to the bedroom and it sounds like they're coming from the girl's room. Like there are voices coming from somewhere. And no matter where I go, it sounds like it's coming from somewhere else. And eventually it stops. And it's by now, it's again, all of this happened kind of like the night before from like the 11:30 to midnight kind of window. Like it started like around 11:30ish. And I'm like, you know what? I'm freaking exhausted. And I'm just Bridget went to bed. I'm not worried. Remy's not reacting. He's not doing anything. Screw it. I'm just gonna go to bed. So I go and I lay down in my bed. And I'm sitting there with my brain racing like a million miles an hour. Like, this is so damn weird. Is this my imagination running away with me? Is this what is going on? And this is the part that I told Doug that I almost didn't tell Doug when we had this conversation, because this is the part that really makes me sound crazy. As I'm laying in bed thinking about this, I hear someone laughing. And it's not like a deep, maniacal, evil laugh. This is like just a childish giggle, like a childish laugh.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like a haha gotcha, right? There's no malice in this. I don't feel anything threatening. I don't feel anything like devious, but I hear laughing and I convince myself in the moment. I'm like, you know what? This is your brain messing with you. Like you have wrapped yourself all up in this. You have a big imagination. The writer in you wants this to be something, and so you're blowing this out of proportion.
Yeah, like A Beautiful Mind starring Tom instead of Russell
Right,
Crowe.
right, exactly. So I wind up getting to sleep and it's it's whatever. It's what it is. I talked to Doug about this the next night or the night after we recorded an episode. And when we're done recording, I'm like, let me talk to you a little bit about what's happening at this house. And you can go ahead and think me crazy, but I have got to tell someone about this. And I tell Doug about it. And Doug says, huh, in the Catholic Church, there are beliefs and there are things that we believe about we'll just call them incidents like this. He goes, if you're hearing voices, that's one thing, and that could just be a ghost, it could be a spirit, it could be you being mentally unstable. But if you hear something that's impersonating your children, impersonation is the work of a demon. And he gets me spun up on that road. I'm like, oh well, this
Yeah,
is
you're
fun.
welcome.
So I start thinking about that, and that leads me down a really interesting road. And it was a hell of a conversation. We finished recording that night, and then we talked for at least another hour. Like
Yeah, well, and then
I
I
gave
did
much
my
more detail.
I did my own version of throwing a grenade and then walking away. I found the last 8 owners of the house, sent the
Yep.
list to them, and was like, "Here you go. Good night."
Yep. And sure enough, I messed with it and I started reaching out to people. I sent messages out on Facebook like, "Hey, did anything weird ever happen to you in this house? I'm on record now. I'm that guy." So the weird stuff. For the next 2 weeks, voices continued to be chiming off in my house. But because I seemed to be the only person that was being bothered by this, I and nothing bad was happening. I told myself, you know what? Um, I am now losing my mind. I need to go get I need to go get checked out here. Something's not right with me, but no one else is complaining of this in my house. Um, I don't think too much of it. I just want to get out of the house. Our last week and a half, 2 weeks in that house is super stressful. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong. Movers screw things up when the movers show up. Things go wrong. Accidents happen that are strange and inconvenient, and nothing that can't be explained. Right? Everything's just odd and coincidental. Except I'm still hearing voices at night. Things are still waking me up. It's usually around 11:30 at night. Um, I'm hearing footsteps outside my window at night. I'm hearing things like branches snap and crackle. There aren't branches outside my window, but I'm hearing like someone stepping on branches like intentionally. I'm hearing this stuff and I keep thinking, man, Justin's really working hard to mess with me. Like he's doing a good job. He's got me all wound up. But I'm hearing footsteps outside my house and I'm sleeping with my gun safe unlocked now in case there's someone outside. Like I'm really going to these weird places where something's not right. But I can get through this. Not a big deal. And my wife and I have agreed that we're not going to talk about this. We get out of the house, we sell the house, we get into an Airbnb. We had supposed to be a 3 day window between selling this house and buying the new one. So we had an Airbnb for a few days. We get into the Airbnb, um, we get situated. The kids are super happy and very different for like day one that we're in this Airbnb. The kids are happy and loving it. The the energy around us just kind of seems better. Like, hey, we just sold our house. We're done with it. I personally, I'm thinking we finally did it. All this stuff popped up that made this really, really hard, but we got through it. We sold the house. That's one step done. Next step, buying the new house. We're on our way. And I attributed everything feeling better, positive energy wise, toward that. Um, my wife and I sit down the second night that we're in the Airbnb. Kids are in bed. I think she had a glass of wine. I don't know. We had a beverage in our hands. And we're sitting down and we were just gonna like relax on the couch and just watch a TV show together and go to bed. Like that's all we wanted was to relax a little bit. And finally I said, hey, can we talk about the house a little bit? And she looks up at me and goes, oh my God, we have to talk about that house. I said, okay. So we talked very briefly about that night with the voices. And like I said, she heard it too, but apparently I heard it much more clearly, and it was something that bothered me much more because she only remembers hearing it once. Um, so she heard the voices too. She says, after that happened, some really weird things started happening, in the house when you weren't around. She goes, remember when you would come home and you would talk to the kids about, hey, remember in the morning you have to check the lights in the back of the house and make sure you turn them off. You're wasting electricity. That's one of your chores before you leave is to turn the lights off in the back of the house. I said, yeah. She goes, every single day you lecture the kids about that last week, I went through the back of the house as we left. Kids were in the car and I went back and checked and the lights were off. Every one of them was off when we left the house. And I went, but they were all on when we came home. She was like, I know. Things apparently went missing. Things were getting knocked over
The
when
ghost
nobody
likes
was
rye.
around. Yeah, maybe the ghost took my bottle.
Ghost took your bottle.
We had weird lights that started flickering and not working in the house that we attributed to it's just a light bulb burning out. But I mean, we knew the house had some weird electricity and some sort of really cheaply done upgrades by the previous owner. So when something like that would happen, we didn't think much of it. But I guess in the last couple of weeks, a lot of lights started flickering and not working right. We couldn't get one of them to work even with a new light bulb the right way. It was always flickering. Things were falling off of counters in the island and just falling and making noise with no one around. And apparently a lot of this is happening when I wasn't home. And she said to me as we're sitting on the couch, kind of laying out our long, detailed list of all the weird stuff that had been happening to us. She goes, and I didn't think about it until after, because I told her about my conversation with you. And she goes, I didn't think about it until you mentioned what Doug had said. The whole demons do impersonations. My wife is very devout Catholic. She goes, but the day that this all started was the day that I took the crucifixes and the guardian angel things off the walls and packed them for the new house. It was the day
Oh,
I took them down.
let him out.
And that was like when she said that, my heart kind of skipped a beat, and I went, "Oh my, can we hang those up, please? Can we put them in the Airbnb in case it followed us? Like, what do we do?" But the big kicker there was that apparently the stuff started like the exact day she packed everything up. That was when stuff started going off the rails. And yeah, things got progressively weirder and weirder in that house. She would talk about walking through the house, like coming home from work and kind of walking through, and then just feeling like something was pulling on her, like as she was walking through the house, which I didn't feel. So maybe I'm not empathetic enough for that, but she talked about that. She talked about like walking in and just like feeling like she was getting blasted by a negative energy. Like her mood would just suddenly change for no good reason. And she felt like it wasn't her emotion. She felt like it wasn't her mood. It was like it's someone else imposing their mood or their will on her. We attributed a lot of it to just the stress that we were under with the move and the fact that things kept going wrong. And it was all very explainable. But in hindsight, every single time something went wrong with me, every single time I heard something, every single time I got up and had to go check something out, it was between 11:20 and 11:50 p.m., usually like right at 11:30 p.m. to 11:45 p.m. It was always within a very specific window. It was almost always I heard voices in my house, which is why I thought my brother was pulling a prank on me. Because man, how easy is that? You bury a couple of walkie-talkies or something with a recording and you hit play. Um, yeah, but we when we put our stuff on the table together, we were like, this is weirder than we realized. And now we feel bad because we may have, without realizing it, passed something awful on to this poor guy who bought our house. I'm feeling kind of bad. I'm feeling like I want to send a priest by still just to bless the house and be like, I just want to say hi and say a couple of Hail Marys and throw some holy water in the corners. You know, yeah, that's my story. I'm a quack, and I'm not afraid to throw that out there anymore because I lived it, and it's whew.
So, well, I mean, I'll tell the same thing that I told Tom that night. Yes, I was, raised Catholic and all that stuff. I'm not one to sit here and try to shove it down people's throat, though. I'm kind of a firm believer, pun intended, in that there's some at least kernels of truth in every religion. Otherwise, most of them wouldn't take hold. I mean, like perfect example is like even Scientology. Like even Scientology talk, they weigh a lot on trauma and how it messes with your brain and you have to like weed it out of your brain and that'll make you better and all that. Like some of that stuff is probably actually true. I mean people just don't glom onto things that are 100% false. They just never gain any foothold. But what I told Tom was just get a priest, have him bless the house, and then that way you can just like you're good. Like, if it works, great, it worked. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't hurt the house. It's not gonna like change your house or anything like that. And you know what? Just do it just to say you did it. And if it doesn't work and whatever weird stuff is happening is still happening, then either it's not that, or it will reconfirm probably your feelings of the matter before. So like it's just do it if you have weird stuff happening. You don't even have to believe it or not.
So there you have it. Tom is a quack. We've got it.
That's fun though. I mean, like fun, like, for not being involved in it.
Honestly, it would have. Like I said, I never felt threatened. At no point did I feel threatened in the whole thing. And if I'm being perfectly honest, it's the kind of thing I spent most of my young life like rooting for. I was the guy who did all the haunted tours. I was the guy who wanted to go rent the room that was allegedly haunted in the Airbnb. Like that was always me. In Savannah, I rented a room that was allegedly haunted. I was 20 years old, I think. Maybe I was 21. It might have been after Iraq. But I remember paying like $800 to stay in a room for 2 nights downtown Savannah because they guaranteed you'd have an encounter and nothing happened. Like I was that guy back then. That was a lot of money. Like I've always wanted that paranormal experience. But I'll tell you what, when you have kids and you start wondering, oh no, what is this? And then you start thinking, oh, this is something I can't control. That's a horrifying feeling to feel like there's something in your house that you have no control over and that if it decides to do harm to your kids or your wife, like there's just nothing you can do. That's a very different place, and it takes all the fun out of it. It really does. It just, yeah, it wasn't a fun experience, and it's something that old me would have loved. I would have been excited about, and like I said, nothing malicious. I never felt threatened. Even with my dog like jumping out the window and trying to go nuts, and I never felt like I personally was being targeted by anything or was in danger. But I felt like I was being messed with the whole time, is what it was. Like I really thought it was my brother just screwing with me for a long time.
I'm gonna have to think about this one. There's a lot of very specific things here. Like the fact that for you it's all at the same, more or less the same time every night, but it's not at the same time for your wife and the rest of your family.
Right. And I don't know anything for the kids experienced. I don't think they've experienced anything. Not one of them mentioned anything, and I found gentle ways to prod, but I don't think any of them experienced anything, to be honest. But every single time I dealt with this, every single time, it was between 11 and midnight,
Did your
usually
wife
between 11:30, 11:45.
did your wife actually quote, this is going to sound weird. So you had the whole tugging thing that she talked about, stuff like that. Was that around the same time, like later at night, or would that be like midday?
I think the way she was talking about it, I think it was just during the day she was walking
Okay,
about.
interesting.
Like we didn't go super in depth because we were both kind of ready to be done with it. Once it was out there, we were both like, yeah,
Well,
let's
yeah, you're like, yeah,
let's move past this.
let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to turn this one around in my brain a little bit. That's interesting.
This episode's gonna have 50 downloads the first day it releases, and they're all gonna be Doug just listening over and over again, mapping out details.
I don't know that many apps. Remember, you kind of told me
That's
what
fair.
Tumblr was tonight.
That's fair.
I'm gonna have to read up more on this. This is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Now that I'm a little bit removed from it, and this house doesn't seem to have any similar inclinations, I'm more inclined to dive into this and do a little bit more homework. But I really, the last week I was there, was like, yeah, let's just not talk about this.
Well, that's what I mean. Maybe it's not demon. Maybe it is just some sort of spirit thing, and the crucifixes aren't necessarily muting the demon that's only doing it, or the spirit. It's more to just like keep you guys sane.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll be a fun time.
That
Yeah, I'll
that
have
was
to
the
read up
thing
on
for me
this.
though. When Bridget said like it started on the day she took down the crucifixes and the little guardian angels from the kids' beds posts like
Yeah.
and packed them up. When she said that, I got the chills. That was the part that was like, oh wow.
Coincidence, you decide.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good.
We're going about an hour to do dad jokes.
Oh, yes. Trying to think of the one that I thought of earlier that I was going to do tonight. Had nothing to do with ghosts or hauntings, though.
Oh, see, I'm bringing Halloween jokes, so mine actually fit because they're Halloween jokes. Why can't ghosts, werewolves, or vampires get pregnant?
Ghosts, werewolves, or vampires.
Yep.
Because it's just a fantasy.
Because of their Halloweenies.
Oh. Would have been better if it was like micropenis.
That actually, yeah, I guess. Since I now know that's a real thing. What do Jeffrey Epstein and Halloween decorations have in
They're not going to
common?
hang themselves.
Nice, he got it.
Come on, all right, come on, man. Low
Nice.
hanging fruit.
All right, fine. What do hillbillies do on Halloween?
Do hillbillies do on Halloween? This is such a broad question. I don't know what to do with this one.
You're,
There's so
you're gonna
many
like
direct.
this one. This will be a groaner.
What do hillbillies do on
I'm
Halloween?
giving you a hint. The punchline is a groaner.
Yeah, I know. They're sisters. Each
Fair,
other.
but it doesn't have the
Yeah.
wordplay and the nuance we're looking for. But it's very close. It's just you're missing the nuance in the wordplay.
Oh God. Well, I don't want to miss the wordplay. Uh, shit. I don't know. Play dress up. I don't know.
Pumpkin.
Oh.
That might be my favorite reaction of all time. I wish you guys could see this one. He's having a good laugh on his whole body moving.
What the fuck?
You weren't far off.
No, I had the right idea,
You
but
did. Oh, that makes me happy.
that one, in the spirit of puns, I think that's the most tickled I've ever felt by any of these dad jokes so far.
That was the best response you've ever given. That was good.
Oh, I feel so good. It makes me feel
Oh,
so
good.
good.
Should I quit
That's-
while I'm ahead then and let you just tell yours and be done? Just quit while we're
Maybe I
ahead.
can't even remember the one I was gonna have before. The only Halloween joke I know was it was like, how do you know that Dracula is sick because of his coffin?
Oh, that's cute. Yeah. Okay. I'm good with that. That works.
Yeah, I can't remember the other one. It had nothing to do with Halloween because, stick, ass, unoriginal, not fun at parties.
Yeah. Girthy
Yeah,
stick, not just a
girthy
stick, but a
stick,
big
right?
girthy
Girthy
stick.
stick.
Like
Can
Groot,
we,
but Groot, but swole.
can we, actually, that sounds like that would do some damage.
I guess it depends on how gentle he is. I don't know.
Is that something we can put on a t-shirt? Groot, but swole, or hashtag girthy stick.
Let's not do that one.
All right, well, give me one more then if you had one more. That
I've
was
got
the,
I've
I
got a
can't think of
bunch.
it.
None of
All
them are
right.
as good as that, but I've
All
got a
right, do
bunch.
it. Yeah, I
Um,
like the
um,
coffin one.
this year's Halloween, I dressed up as cocaine, just so that somebody would do me in the bathroom.
I
All right.
thought I was
Um,
gonna say so you could go bump in the night.
no, that would be good too. I dressed up as a screwdriver last year. It wasn't a very good costume, but it turned a lot of heads.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, all right.
I thought you could turn that real dark and say something about like being best friends with OJ.
You could. I told my wife a really
Yeah.
dark joke yesterday and she didn't really appreciate it. So I'm I'm a little
It's okay,
I'm
Tom.
shying away.
I am here for you.
Are you?
Tell
Okay.
tell us.
Okay. I will tell you my
You're
dark
talking
joke.
to somebody who at one point knew all the dead baby jokes.
So
You can trust me.
so this is not that level dark. Okay. I'll
Oh, well
preface when
then
I say it's dark joke, I mean it was too dark for my wife. It is
okay.
not it is not like it is not the dark humor level. This is just
Okay, darn.
darker than my wife likes.
Maybe we shouldn't do this. I'll just be disappointed.
No, you'll still like this one.
Okay, good.
A 13-year-old walks
Okay,
into
no, it's too dark.
a 13-year-old boy walks into a whorehouse and he's holding a dog collar in his left hand. Um, and he walks up to the madam and slaps $100 bill on the counter and says, I need a whore. I need one now. And she's got to have active herpes. And the madam says, I'm sorry. I think you're a little bit young to be here. He pulls out another $100 bill and slaps it on the table and says, I need a whore with active herpes and I need her now. And so she looks at him for a minute. She says, you want a woman who has herpes?" And he slaps the $100 bill down a third one and says, "Active herpes now." So she says, "Okay, you know what? I'm not going to argue with this kid. He's determined." Takes him upstairs, puts him in a room with a woman who's got active herpes, and leaves. 15 minutes later, the kid comes walking downstairs. He still has that dog collar clutched in one hand. He's got this just real determined look as he's storming down the steps. And she says, I'm sorry, before you go, could I ask? It's bizarre enough you're here, but why did you want a hooker with or why did you want a lady with active herpes? No one's ever requested that before." And he takes a breath and he stops and he looks at the dog collar in his hand, looks up at her and says, "I just had sex with a woman with active herpes. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna fuck my babysitter. And then my parents are gonna come home. And my dad's gonna drive the babysitter home. And on the way home, he's gonna fuck her on the way in his car. And then he's gonna come home and he's gonna fuck my mom when he's done. And then tomorrow morning, he's gonna go to work. And mom's gonna stay home. And the milkman's gonna come by in the morning. And he's gonna fuck my mom. And that son of a bitch is the guy that drove over my dog." It's much more of a Doug joke than my wife joke, apparently, because Doug's having a good chuckle. Yep, there you go.
That son of a bitch. Got him.
Got him is right.
I appreciated that. Thank you.
I'm glad that you did.
This is a safe haven for you here on the internet with me.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It's a good thing it's just between us. It's a good thing
Yes.
that that one's strictly between us.
Yeah, but herpes is never between two people.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's been a couple of days of telling unappreciated jokes to people, and it's good to know that they're appreciated here.
Hmm.
I was
Always.
telling slap jokes the other day because somebody made a Chris Rock reference. They said they were sending an email to Chris Rock, and I was like, "What? I've got all the slap jokes in the world. Let's go." And he was like, "No, no, not that Chris Rock." I was like, "Oh man, that makes me sad." But my slap jokes were not greatly appreciated, which is a shame.
Well, maybe we can do that next time.
I
We
can
don't
bring all
we
the slap jokes next time. I got plenty.
don't want to overload anybody.
No, we don't want that.
I fear that you have about 5 times more overall jokes than I do. This is not good.
I probably do, but
Probably.
in your defense, anyone who served in the military is going to have more jokes than someone who did not, because that's
Hey,
what, especially back then, that's what we did to pass the time. We didn't have
well, that's
smartphones. Like
true.
all we did was tell jokes. Like there was a point in time where I probably had about 500 to 1,000 jokes committed to memory because that was literally what we had to do. You told jokes, you played cards, you played dominoes, you played chess if someone had a board. That was all we did. So in your defense, most vets probably have more jokes in their brain than most non-vets.
But in my defense, I went to an all boys school.
Well, that's a joke in itself, and
So
that
it
explains the
it
girthy
is.
stick in your ass, but it doesn't mean you're
Oh
supposed to
no,
remember
no,
all
no,
these
no. That
jokes.
one's custom made. That's not organic at all.
Okay. All right.
Maybe that's why I have more off the cuff things because I
Is
went to an
is
all boys school.
maybe do you leave that like do you take the stick out every once in a while or you just leave it in there? Like how does that work?
No, it's like dentures.
Okay. All right.
I heard your joke. It was all bark, no bite.
Yeah, well, I'm good with that. It's fine.
No. It's not evergreen, Tom.
That would hurt. Oh my goodness, that would hurt.
Bristle me timbers.
Oh gosh. All right. Thanks for listening. Let's not leave. Let's give homework here because
Okay.
we've looked as recently as this evening. We want to do a live stream and realized we couldn't. We are still
Yes.
10 follows short of our goal. Just 10. That's it. A lousy
On
10
the plus
follows.
side, I haven't made any fake Gmails or anything like that. So it's still not any version of manufactured. But yes, we do need a few more follows just so we can actually do some live streams from our real fake account, not Tom's real account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Don't strangle anybody inside of a suicide pod. Don't piss off demons in your home. Leave your crucifixes up if that's your thing. And thanks
And
for
the
listening.
jury's still out on Swole Groot.
And the jury's still out on Swole Groot. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. It is good to be back. And we are now current. Every episode will be released within like a week of recording. So we're actually going to be current at this point. We've run out of things in the can.
We have to work hard now.
Yeah, we do. Yep. All right. Well, we can work on that. I will have those odds uploaded here in the next day or two that have been sitting on my computer packed up in a box, not uploaded. So we'll have that to add.
God damn it, Tom. Does.
Yes, odditas.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening. We really do appreciate it.
As always.
We are Groot.
We